Oh, yeah. Is it Thursday already? Oh, my goodness, chat. Episodes 7, 8, and 9 of Andor Season 2 are here. Uh, peak. Peak, chat. Peak. Okay? We're talking today, is this the best that Star Wars has ever been over the course of these last 3 episodes? Is it truly better than things like the original trilogy, Revenge of the Sith, and others? I don't know. It's going to be a pretty interesting conversation to have. So without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Thursday afternoon? So yeah, episodes 7, 8, and 9 of Andor season 2. They're all. I mean, they're all right. They're okay. They're just all right. Okay, let's be honest here, chat. They were a freaking masterpiece. We're going to break them down. We're going to talk about them. Of course, we're going to predict what's coming in the finale, because next week is the finale, episodes 10, 11, and 12. That's it. Leading directly into Rogue One, Luthen's backstory, and we got a lot of open-ended things that have to go down, like Dedra, Clea, Luthen. They all have to either die or somehow, like Bix does, leave the story. Yeah, that's right. Bix did not die in this week's episode, but Syril did. So spoiler alert for episode 7, 8, and 9. Obviously, spoiler alert for episode 7, 8, and 9. If you didn't know that already, I don't know what the hell you're doing here. But we got to talk about these episodes. So first things first, let's say hi to everybody in the chat. Let's start the stream, right? Okay. James, what is up? Adam, how we doing? Starship 66 in the house. Holly, what is up? WUV Grad, how we doing? Ryan, what is up? Droopy in the house. B-Man, what is up? Mr. /X, how we doing? Aaron, what is up? Brandon Baker in the house. Rachel, what is up? Ian, how we doing? Tafari Tano, what is up? Chris, how we doing? All right, if I miss you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little...
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Okay, so... let's start with a poll. I feel like that's the only place we should be starting. So if you haven't smashed a freaking like on the stream, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. Smash a freaking like on the stream. All right, but let's start this off right. What did you think of Andor Season 2, Episodes 7, 8, and 9? Did you love them? Did you like them? And while we do this, rate the 3 episodes out of 10, all combined. 7, 8, and 9, rate them all out of 10 combined. Where are we at with the 3-episode arc this week? Rate it out of 10 in the chat. Did you think it was just meh? Or did you hate it? Hated it. What do we think, chat? And rate them out of 10 in the chat. Rate them out of 10. So for me, episode 7, if I go one by one, combined, they're 10 out of 10, easy. Episode 7 is probably around an 8.9-ish. And I know I just said combined, they're all 10 out of 10. But when you add episode 7 to what comes after it, because it's the setup for episode 8 and 9, it's the perfect arc. It's the perfect 3-episode arc. Perfect is the only word to describe it. But episode 8, I gave a 10 out of 10. And episode 9, I also gave a 10 out of 10. And I do not give 10 out of 10s out lightly. Off the top of my head, I can only remember a few episodes I've ever given a 10 out of 10, and Ahsoka episode 5 comes to mind. Maybe even episode 4, too, in Ahsoka. But, having said that, these 2 episodes, in particular, episodes 8 and episodes 9, seem to be the conversation that's been going around the interweb. But I want to take a second to talk about episode 7, because it seems to be overlooked, if you will. Now, they posted these posters that I want to show you guys really quickly. So they just posted these posters online. So take a look at this. So this is for The Messenger. This was for episode 6. 7, sorry. This one's for episode 8. And this one's for episode 9. So let's go back to the episode 7 one first. Episode 7 is titled The Messenger. And we actually learned a very interesting piece about Cassian Andor's story in this episode. That he is a messenger. We have a Force healer introduced in this episode, and that Force healer is telling Cassian some crazy stuff about him and his life ahead of him, talking about how significant he is to the rebellion and how he will be the messenger, the title of the episode. Now, honestly, this is pretty wild stuff that seems to be overshadowed by episode 8 and 9. But a force healer on Yavin, which in and of itself is crazy, but that force healer telling Cassian pretty much his future like a fortune teller in a way, because we know where Cassian's story ends. It ends on the beaches of Scarif as he dies to the Death Star as a messenger. The messenger of the Death Star plans, that is. So, with that being said, episode 7, you see that, of course, focuses on Cassian, and we got Yavin 4. I was quite shocked by this, as many of you were as well, that, I mean, we went straight into Yavin. The opening scene is on Yavin. That's not what we expected at all this week. So much of this week was a surprise. I knew the Ghorman massacre was going down. We knew that for a fact. We knew that Cassian was going to help Mon Mothma escape, but the execution, knowing something and then seeing it executed are two very, 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 very different things. And that's pretty much the story of Andor Season 2, or Andor as a series in general, because we know how Cassian's story ends. We know that he was a rebel for his whole life, but seeing that, the execution of that is all very, very different than what we ever imagined. And this show has proved that time and time and time again. Now, I am seeing some controversy in the chat. Is this the best Star Wars? Is it just one of the best pieces of Star Wars? Where are we at with that, chat? You guys tell me in the chat. But episode 7 really gave us an insight into what Cassian's story actually looks like and how the Force plays into it. Because the Force is a very important piece to the equation called Star Wars. And the lack of Force, the lack of lightsabers in the Andor series has been a complaint from many Star Wars fans. It's also been a compliment for other Star Wars fans. But allowing Cassian to meet this Force healer, first of all, he doesn't believe in the Force really at all. That's made evident very quickly. But to hear that from a Force user, that his story, his purpose is pretty much one with the Force and as a messenger, which he eventually becomes. Pretty damn wild. So yeah, I see some people saying they're better than the movies. So I get it. When we watched those episodes live, it was like, holy crap, what did we just watch? And still, if you watch them again and again and again and again, it's still like, holy crap, what did we just watch? But the question that was asked to me on the live stream was, is this the best Star Wars? Not one of the best, not up there, not possibly top 5. Is this episode 7, 8, 9, or just 8 and 9? Is it the best Star Wars? Now, that's a very, very difficult distinction to make. First of all, everything is different. Everybody has their own different perspective on Star Wars. Everybody has their own different opinions on Star Wars. That is clear. I mean, we've seen that quite a bit over the last year in Star Wars content in terms of Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte and Ahsoka and whatever. People have very strong opinions. Even with Andor, you have people who call it Andor, complain about the lack of aliens and bricks and whatever you want to do. People complain. They find stuff to complain about. So it's going to be different for everybody. It will be different for everybody, whether they see this as one of the best Star Wars projects of all time or the best Star Wars project of all time. It's very, very difficult to put this up against Revenge of the Sith. It's not just that Revenge of the Sith is an incredible movie. It's the story that is being told in Revenge of the Sith about the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker, in that whole relationship he has with Obi-Wan and how that is coming to a head in the third movie of a trilogy. And, of course, the importance of that story for the greater galaxy. It's very, very difficult, English, Mike, difficult to put those two side by side. This story about Cassian, about just a random rebel who dies in Rogue One. This story about these characters that we only met a couple of years ago, the groundbreakingness of this show is not nearly as important as like Revenge of the Sith or the original trilogy. But that doesn't mean that this isn't as good as that. I get it. People like the whole nostalgia of the original trilogy, or even the prequel trilogy now has a lot of nostalgia around it. And the fact can't be that this can't be good as that because it's not as old as that. We can't sit here in 20 years from now and go, oh yeah, Andor season 8 and 9, that's some of the greatest Star Wars ever. That is the greatest Star Wars ever. But we can only say that now because it's 20 years later. We can't be sitting there in 2045. Yeah, that's right. That's in 20 years. 2045. And be like, yeah, Andor episode 8 and 9 of season 2 was the best that Star Wars has ever been. But we couldn't say it at the time because it wasn't nostalgic, because it wasn't what people wanted to hear, because it was Disney Star Wars. Oh my God, Disney Star Wars. That's just not logical. You know? So if you do think it's the greatest Star Wars of all time, first of all, I don't blame you. I'm still in this phase where it's only been 2 days and I can't put my definitive mark on whether or not this is this is the best Star Wars. I can say for sure that it is some of the best Star Wars to ever exist. Is it my all-time favorite? It's really difficult to say. It's really, really difficult to say. Live, watching it live during the watch party, as some of you can attest, I was sitting there staring at glued to this screen, almost forgetting completely what I was doing, how I was hosting a show. I didn't even care about you guys, no offense. I was completely just blanking you guys out, didn't care at all. Locked in the zone. I probably looked like an idiot. I was probably like making a stupid face, whatever. But even still, that's how I know that show is so good. And right after episode 8, I was almost at a loss for words, and then we had to start episode 9. And I go, how the hell is this going to top that? And guess what? It pretty much did. It was at least on the same level. Maybe it wasn't better than episode 8, but it was at the same level, which is insanity. How are we going to sit here and talk about 2 of the greatest Star Wars episodes of all time and not put it in the conversation for greatest Star Wars ever? It's like Luke Skywalker showing up in The Mandalorian season 2. That's great. It's one of the best episodes of all time. But it's because Luke Skywalker shows up. This show does this, and not to say that that's not more significant because Luke Skywalker shows up. This does that without Vader, without Palpatine. Vader's not force choking Dedra. And it doesn't need that. It 1000% didn't need that. Okay, let's move on from episode 7 as we talked about the Force Healer Lady. And the Force Healer Lady is sort of the first piece of Bix finding out how important Cassian is to the rebellion and how she knows that for sure. And then even Vel comes to talk with her and says, look, Cassian's important and we need him. But moving on to episode 8. Now, episode 8, first of all, tell me in the chat, do you think that episode 8 or 9 is better? Which episode do you guys like more, episode 8 or episode 9? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. To me, episode 8 is the Ghorman massacre. Syril's death was incredible. In the emotional speech at the end from Drina, Wilmon's girlfriend, was, I can't even explain the emotion. Like, it was just that, heart-wrenching craziness. But episode 8 has the same thing when Bix leaves at the very end. And episode 8 involves Coruscant and Mon Mothma escaping Coruscant, Cassian blasting people, all that stuff. Going to Yavin 4, connections to the rebels, bringing K2 back to life. It's very, very difficult. They are so close. It's like 1 and 1A, but which one is 1A? I don't know. It's really, really difficult. But I will say, when talking about episode 8 specifically, it almost seems like Syril's turn, first of all, was done so well. Because when you think about it, we've seen multiple characters in the TV shows go from Empire, bad guy, to good guy. You think about the Bad Batch had Rampart. You think about Rebels had Callus, Agent Callus. So this storyline has been done before. However, this is completely different and done so much better than those other ones that came before. And you guys know how much I love Rebels. So Syril went from being one of the most annoying, worst characters of this entire series. Every time he was on the screen, I wanted to punch my screen. He's eating cereal with his mom. Couldn't care about him less. To easily a top 5 character in this show. One of the most emotional and crazy deaths I've seen in Star Wars. In the last words he hears from Cassian, and the name of the episode is "Who Are You?" Can we talk about that? Can we talk about it? The Ghorman massacre itself was awesome. It was done so perfectly well. The Empire takes the first shot and they shoot themselves. The sniper shoots another Imperial officer to kickstart the whole thing. The lead up to the Ghorman massacre was fan-freaking-tastic. The Empire using the propaganda to make the Ghormans look like the bad guys. And the leader of the rebels, Coro Rylance, he's the only one who sees that it's a trap, that they're opening up the plaza, and he's the one who wants to do this whole thing peacefully, and he's the one who's like, peace, 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 peace. And guess what? He shoots Syril in the head! He shoots Syril in the head! Okay, calm down, Mike. But the setup for the Ghorman massacre was fantastic, and the whole execution of it was great. But right smack dab in the middle is arguably one of the greatest fight scenes in Star Wars, and it doesn't involve a lightsaber, and it doesn't even involve, I guess it involves a blaster at the very end, but it doesn't even involve a blaster either. It's a hand-to-hand combat fight scene that's just absolutely incredible. Now, there have been some behind-the-scenes videos that came out from Lucasfilm. They do these declassified things after the episode airs, and they're awesome. We're going to watch a little snippet of it today. But they talk about the choreography for this fight and how long Diego Luna and what's Syril's actor's name? Chat. God, whatever. Syril and Cassian, how much they trained for this sequence. And honestly, go back and watch it. You remember Syril's death. You remember the Ghorman massacre, but go back and watch that fight scene. It's incredible. Kyle, thank you. Yes, Kyle. It's incredible. But then, of course, it ends with "Who are you?" "Who are you?" is the most insane thing. It's so important that they made it the title of the entire episode. It could have been like Ghorman Massacre. Could have been like R.I.P. Syril. Could have been anything. But it's "Who are you?" Because for the last 3 years, all that Syril and Dedra ever cared about was finding Cassian, finding Axis, taking down the rebellion. And to Cassian, he doesn't even remember who he is. It's insane. It's pretty much like, actually, somebody made this great analogy, or I guess comparison. In Avengers Endgame, give me a 1 into the chat if you've seen Avengers Endgame, chat. Now, in Avengers Endgame, I certainly hope you have. If you have not, you are missing the greatness of all greatnesses. In Avengers Endgame, when Wanda sees Thanos, and she says, "You've taken everything from me." And Thanos' response is, "I don't even know who you are." That's pretty much the interaction that we get here between Thanos, Cassian Andor, and Wanda, Syril, as he is fighting, trying to kill Cassian this entire time for like a 3-minute fight sequence, which is incredible. And finally, when he gets the upper hand and points a blaster at his head, Cassian looks up at him and goes, "I don't even know who you are. I don't know who you are." Oh, it's so crazy. It is so crazy. But that's not even the greatest part of episode 8. It's not, because the best part is the end when the K2 units come out and start chasing him. And Sam, by the way, not the Sam you guys know, but the Sam in Andor, he drives the Imperial shuttle right into the K2 unit, splitting him in half, and that's how we learn that K2 and Cassian met. That's how they meet. And it gets even better in episode 9 when we learn that it's right after Bix leaves Cassian that he finds K2. So that connection of losing a best friend / girlfriend and gaining a best friend / droid, that's another piece to it. But how he acquires the droid is at the Ghorman massacre, at this crazy, probably the craziest event of his entire life, other than his death, which is the Ghorman massacre. And it concludes. Oh, and Sam was the one who killed Cinta, by the way. No, Sam is not here today. No, she's out there winning more and more and more awards. Chat. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but where was I? Wilmon's girlfriend, Drina, is calling out for any help across the galaxy. And she's pretty much what we hear in the trailer. Can anybody hear us? Can anybody help us? And while she's saying that, the music, the emotions of it all, seeing Cassian crying, seeing all the rebels on the ground just dead or dying, all that, it's so strong emotionally. Like it's just incredibly done. It's so hard to put into words, but you just feel it. And there's only a handful of times that I've ever felt that way in Star Wars. One of them being at the end of episode 8, one of them being at the end of episode 9, and then, of course, in other places, seeing Anakin versus Ahsoka in The World Between Worlds, of course, Revenge of the Sith, sometimes, depends on the time, I've watched it too many times. You just feel that way sometimes with Star Wars. And this was that feeling. That end of episode 8 was just, we just witnessed a massacre. The Empire just slaughtered thousands of these people that we know so well. And even Syril, who was evil since the episode 1 of season 1, turned on the Empire. And he turns on the Empire, but even still dies. Even still. And the craziest part that nobody really talks about is Cassian, when he's aiming the blaster at Syril, when he's aiming the blaster at Cassian, starts to lower the blaster. He's not going to kill him. He's not. And anyway, still, the peacekeeper, Caro Rylans, shoots him in the head. Insanity. Insanity. Down as one of the greatest Star Wars episodes of all time. Some people calling it the greatest thing that's ever come out of Star Wars. It's inarguably good. Inarguably good, I think. I mean, I haven't seen an argument that anybody has been saying it's bad, but that's how I see it. And honestly, as you look over here, oh, where is it? Hang on, chat. Where is it? On IMDb, because people don't really like Rotten Tomatoes, because Rotten Tomatoes, you know, it's the whole thing, whatever. IMDb has episode 8 at a 9.9 out of 10. The second highest rated episode of all time. Now, yes, there's a bunch of episodes out there that have a 9.9. Actually, Star Wars has a few, in the Clone Wars, that is. But 9.9, tied for the second highest rated episode of all time. There's only one episode ever that has a 10 out of 10, and that is the second to last episode of Breaking Bad, I think. But I'm not too sure. So a 9.9 is episode 8. Now, episode 9, which we are going to move on to right now, has a 9.8. Not quite a 9.9, but a 9.8. And that is still unbelievably good. These are two of the highest rated episodes of Star Wars ever, but two of the highest rated episodes, period. End of sentence. Yeah. Which is insane. I actually am very interested to see if the Rotten Tomatoes score has gone up. Not the critic score, but the audience score. Let's see. What? Google, that's not how you work. Andor season 2, Rotten Tomatoes. Why would it? What? Chat, this isn't. It's not how Google works, chat. What's going on here? Okay, there we go. Fixed it. Okay, so wow, the Rotten Tomatoes score did go up. It went up to 98%, and then the audience score went up by 4%. What was it at before? No, it was at a 79. It went up to an 81. 81 is far too low for this show. Come on. That's insane. But a 98%, and that's why we learned that it was a 98%, because of this. It's not just the lead up of episode 7 either. The first half of the season is now made so much better. all the stuff with Syril on Ghorman, all the stuff with Cassian and Luthen, all that stuff has been made so much better from the first 6 episodes of the season just by these last 2. That's crazy. Okay, but moving on to episode 9, which was right here. Moving on to episode 9, which is titled Welcome to the Rebellion. The welcoming of Mon Mothma into the actual rebellion as she's going off to Coruscant. Now, the episode opens on Coruscant, on Coruscant, with the senator from Ghorman being arrested by the Empire. The final nail in the coffin, as the Empire just slaughtered all of his people, and now they're arresting him. The Empire made these people look like the bad guys. And the rest of the galaxy probably thinks, oh yeah, screw those Ghormans, they're the worst. Who cares about them? They probably deserved it. Crazy. But he's getting arrested, and Bail Organa and Mon Mothma are watching on. And Mon is pretty much like, we gotta go. It's time to go. It's time to go home. It's time to go to Yavin 4. But Bail says no. And actually, before we even talk about the story arc and all that stuff in episode 9, let's talk about Bail Organa first. Bail Organa, played by Benjamin Bratt. What do we think of the recast now, chat? What do we think of the recast now? Tell me in the chat. Did we like it? Did we hate it? What's going on? Did we find out what happened to Mon's family? No. I wonder if they'll ever actually clear that up. Because yes, her husband and her daughter were a very important piece to the story, even in this second season. I really wonder if they'll do anything about that. I wonder. I don't know. I feel like maybe there'll be some explanation in the finale, but I don't know. All right, let's see what you guys think of the recast. It's horrible? Oh my God. Recast is what it is. Okay. It was damn fine. Okay. I'd rather wait 6 months so that Jimmy can come back. All right. Loved it from the beginning. Okay. Ben Bratt was fire. Told you, bro. Okay. Didn't mind it. It was meh. I'm okay with it. Never had an issue with the recast. What about Mon Mothma recasting? True. It's okay. Benjamin Bratt did a fine job. Doesn't matter. Decent. Okay. Interesting. Couple different outlooks on that. A lot of doesn't matters. Didn't mind it. Yeah. It was all right. The difference between, though, Mon Mothma being recast, because you're absolutely right, Mon Mothma being recast is Mon Mothma was in Return of the Jedi in 1983. And Return of the Jedi even is still about 4 years away from this series, give or take. So it's not like Bail Organa, because Bail Organa is in Rogue One, which takes place a year after the events of this series. And he was just in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which takes place only 8 years before this or something like that. So you have Bail Organa as Jimmy, and now, right in the middle, you're going to give us Bail Organa as somebody else. So that's why the recast here is a little bit different. However, having said that, it doesn't affect the way I look at these episodes at all. Nope. Benjamin Bratt did a fantastic job. The character of Bail still feels like the character of Bail, and it doesn't affect how great this episode is. It just doesn't. This 9th episode is a freaking masterpiece, and Bail Organa being recast has zero effect on it, which is fan-freaking-tastic. But having said that, I know people have very, very strong opinions about it. And Jordan even says, the Bail recast took me out of it. Okay, there you go. It did affect how the way you watched it. Yeah. If the show sucked, then everybody would have hated it. That's very true, Rob. It's almost it would have been an issue if it wasn't for the show being so good. Absolutely. That's the same thing as and I always bring up The Acolyte because it's the perfect example. With The Acolyte, you had the actor who played Yord accidentally say in an interview that Anakin Skywalker blew up the Death Star. I'm sure you guys remember that because it was all over the internet. This show is so bad, the actors don't even know what they're talking about. It was the end of the world. But when an actor like Ewan McGregor says he doesn't even know who he's dropping off on Tatooine at the end of Revenge of the Sith, because it's Luke Skywalker and he doesn't know that, then nobody cares because everybody loves Obi-Wan, everybody loves Ewan McGregor, and nobody cares. So it's pretty much the same thing. If it's good, nobody cares. If it's bad, everybody's going to shit on it. So if Andor was terrible, the Benjamin Bratt recast would be a big deal. But it's not. True. Absolutely. Clea let her hair down? Oh, yeah. Indeed, she did. I don't know. Clea's arc is very strange, and I think she will die next week, but I don't know. Only time will tell. Indeed. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Darth Plagueis lives with a very generous $10 holla. I appreciate that quite a bit. Says, this is for Andor being peak. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Says, it might be my third favorite project of all time. Syril's death, ... Wow. Yeah. I mean, Syril's death was something else. Because me personally, I hated Syril. Like, full on despised him in season 1. Every time he was on screen, I was like, let's focus on somebody else. But the difference that 7 episodes makes is insane. Because by that time, 7 episodes, 7 episodes later, he becomes this incredible character, and his death feels so meaningful and heartbreaking when it happens. Absolutely. But yes, Andor is indeed peak. Top 3 all time? What are your other top 2, Plagueis? I appreciate the super chat. I really, really do. $10 is extremely generous. And super chats, memberships, keep the lights on over here. Keep the lights on over here. Yeah. Hey, Mike, what's up? How we doing? Who the hell are the 3% that hated this? Honestly, sometimes I think there's always some people just messing around in the chat, or, haters gonna hate. Yeah. Will Syril's mom join the rebellion? I doubt it, but that was tough. Seeing Edie cry like that was brutal, especially after all that. Rose, what's up? How we doing? Yeah. If you've ever watched Game of Thrones, season 2, episode 8 was the Andor or Star Wars equivalent of the Red Wedding. Yes, I have seen Game of Thrones, and it kind of was. Game of Thrones is still a little bit more gruesome in the ways of so many main characters die in that Red Wedding. But in Andor, Syril's really the only main character that dies. Those rebels, you grow to know a few of them a little bit over the course of the first 6 episodes, but you don't really care too much for them. And when they die, it still feels bad, but it's not like Cassian dying or Luthen dying. Syril's death was really the only important one. That sounds horrible, but it is the only important one. Oh my God.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah. Wait, what? Oh, no, that was the same one. I don't know why it does that. This is my third favorite project behind... Oh, wait. This is my third favorite project after Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy and this original trilogy for Star Wars. Wow. That is very high praise. I stumbled across 3 of the most... What? Okay, never mind. Never mind. I'm going to stop reading that one. Star Wars will never be at the Game of Thrones level in brutality and fairness. Oh, no, never. And I don't want them to be. Game of Thrones is a whole different beast than Star Wars, and I don't think that should ever be around Star Wars. Like, you can pull off the Ghorman massacre where thousands of people die. You can pull off stuff like the Death Star blowing up Alderaan in the original trilogy, in one of the opening sequences of original trilogy. You can pull that off, billions of people dying, and it still doesn't feel as gruesome and brutal as Game of Thrones, because that's not what Star Wars is. Yes, there's billions and millions and trillions and quadrillions of people dying, but you don't you don't feel it that badly like Game of Thrones does. Yeah. We'd be lucky if Tony Gilroy sticks around. Well, people always think about it this way, like the future of Star Wars, the future of this, the future, getting more Tony, getting more. Can we appreciate the Tony that we have right now? Can we appreciate what we just watched? How about the fact that we've had 10 years of Tony Gilroy? Can we appreciate that? Let's not compare Luke and Leia to Jamie and Cersei. Oh, yeah, let's not do that either. No. Yeah. Did not the spy chick say Harlow just before she caught by teammates? What? RJ, are you just messing with me or is that real? She was on the comms and she said Harlow? I don't know if this is real or not. The Uncle Harlow stuff is really funny to me. I mentioned that it's like Andor's Marok. People want to know who's under the mask, and it ends up being nobody. Same thing with the clone assassin in the Bad Batch. Everybody wants to know what's under the mask, and it's nobody. The Uncle Harlow stuff is just really funny because it's a name. And whenever you hear a name but don't see a face, you just think, who is that? And a lot of fans have come up with some very, very bold theories, like he's Palpatine or he's whoever. I don't think Uncle Harlow is anybody of significance. Let's put it that way. She said Harlow. If she actually said Harlow, I'm going to lose my mind. But that's insane. She said Harlow. Fuck. Okay. Maybe that's important. I don't know. That's tough. Okay. But having said that, let's talk about episode 9. So we start off on Coruscant, the Ghorman senators being arrested, and that's a whole crazy stuff. I'm trying to talk about episode 9. Stop sending me money. Just kidding. I appreciate it. Ron with the very generous $10 holla says we didn't get to talk about the Melshi cameo. Guessing we'll see more of him through 10, 11, 12. Yes. Well, that's kind of talking about episode 9. Melshi is in episode 9, and his sort of appearance is a surprise to be sure. It's a weird way to introduce him. He's just on Yavin. He just shows up. And Vel is going through the blasters and recognizes this one. And the reason she recognizes it is because it's Cassian's, but is it because Cassian took it from her? Or maybe took it from Aldani? Not too sure there. But she recognizes it, says, whose blaster is this? It's Melshi's. Melshi will have some sort of role in episodes 10, 11, 12. For sure. But let's start from the beginning. So, episode 9 opens on Coruscant. Ghorman massacre Ghorman senator being arrested. Mon Mothma says they have to leave. She needs to take the floor, call out Palpatine, and get the hell out of there. But Bail says no. Bail is staying. Mon Mothma can leave, but Bail has to stay because Yavin is not ready. The rebels, although they've come a long way since Andor season 1 and since Aldani and since even the first episodes of this season, they still have a ways to go. If you want to compete against the Empire, you need an army. Yavin has the beginnings of an army, but it's not ready. So Bail has to stay on Coruscant and buy them some more time, buy the rebellion some more time to grow even more. And that's why he can't leave. Makes a lot of sense, but that's why he cannot leave. Now, also in episode 9, we get Luthen for the first time. Now, the lack of Luthen in these 3 episodes, he is in episode 9 quite a bit, but the lack of Luthen is the only gripe I guess I would have, as he is my favorite character. But even that doesn't take away any of the score, because he's still great in this 9th episode. And it's alluding to something weird going on with Luthen too. Because of this spy in Bail Organa's team, because that secret agent is hired by Lonnie. And Lonnie, of course, is the rebel spy in the ISB for Luthen. So why on earth would Luthen put a spy purposefully, an ISB spy, in Bail Organa's team? Oh my God, Jordan. Can a man just talk about Andor season 9 without getting sent money? Just kidding. I appreciate it. Jordan Rennie with a very generous $2 holla. And while I read this chat, tell me in the chat, why do you think that Luthen would put a spy hired by Lonnie in Bail Organa's crew? Tell me in the chat. But Jordan with a very generous $20 holla, holy crap, Jordan, you're insane, says, my prediction is that we'll have a Galen Erso cameo in the final episodes. I like that. I like that quite a bit, actually. We haven't had a huge amount, of Krennic. True, Krennic actually is not in any of these episodes. Neither is Saw Gerrera, too. So the lack of those two will hopefully be made up for, I guess, in the back 3 episodes. But yes, getting some more Krennic. And we'll have some Galen carry out the last bit of work on the Death Star before we see him in Rogue One. That's very likely because we see the Death Star still being put together in the Andor trailer with Krennic looking at it. And what I mean by that, if I pull this up really quickly, Krennic with the Death Star. Wait, what? Now we have, with the trailers, only very few scenes remaining. One of them being Dedra in Luthen's gallery, but we'll talk about that later. But one of them being this. They're building a weapon. This. So this scene right here of the Death Star being built, I could very well see what Jordan is saying here, that Galen Erso could be in this scene right here. Maybe he's even cropped out of this image. I don't know. But he definitely could be on the bridge of this Star Destroyer looking out at the Death Star as it's being completed. 100%. Will we see Saw be sore? Ouch, leg time. Oh, will we see Saw get his legs cut off or blown off? Maybe. I have no idea. It's weird that we got no Saw this week. I thought he'd be involved in the Ghorman massacre. I thought he'd have some sort of play into this. But no, he was just, nowhere to be seen, doing his own thing. I don't know. It's very interesting. What's Saw up to nowadays? But yeah, as Jordan's saying, we're definitely getting more Krennic and hopefully a Galen Erso appearance. That'll be pretty good. I like it a lot, but I appreciate the super chat. All right, but let's talk about Lonnie. Let's talk about Lonnie and the fact that he hired this secret agent, probably under the because of Luthen telling him to be a spy in Bail Organa's team. Let's talk about it. So RJ says Lonnie double crosses Luthen. I don't think so. I think this is Luthen's doing. I think Luthen purposely put in a spy in Bail Organa's team so that Mon Mothma would have to go with Cassian. But why? Luthen has talked about how he's never going to go to Yavin. Maybe he doesn't trust Bail Organa. Maybe he wants to make sure that Mon Mothma gets there because he's ensuring the future of the rebellion. It's weird that Luthen doesn't want to go to Yavin. It seems like he's been disconnected from the major part of the rebellion because Yavin is the new big part of the rebellion. Even the Ghost crew and those other cells of the rebel cells, those are still connected in ways to Yavin 4. So it's weird that Luthen, who started this whole damn thing, the guy who pretty much gave the galaxy-wide grand opening of the rebellion with Aldhani back in season 1, that guy who's worked his entire life, or entire back half of his life, to make this rebellion happen, he doesn't want to see it grow. Maybe that he doesn't want to see it grow. He doesn't want to be a part of it growing. He needs Mon on his side again. But why? Like, we're going to see them a year later. What is Luthen up to? Is he still on Coruscant with Kleya? And if so, what is he doing? In this trailer that I just pulled up here, this scene right before this, which we haven't seen yet, is...
It's a weapon.
It's a weapon. And this is Kleya and Cassian in the same Coruscant secret base, or whatever, secret, house, safe house is what the words I was looking for. Safe house on Coruscant. The one we saw in the last episode, the one we saw in episode 6, that's the same safe house right here where Kleya and Cassian are. Luthen's not there, as far as we're aware, and she knows about the Death Star. So a year later, all hell is breaking loose as the word of this magical moon that the Empire has created that destroys planets is going around. It's going to get to Cassian. He knows that there's a weapon. Now, he doesn't know what the weapon is because he doesn't find out until Rogue One. But this next week's episodes lead directly into Rogue One. So the information that Cassian knows, the Cassian that we see in Rogue One, we are going to see next week. So that Cassian is here. Captain Cassian Andor, the most trusted rebel from the rebel crew that Mon Mothma knows and loves, because now we know why she trusts him so much, because he just saved her ass on Coruscant. But next week we are seeing that same Cassian, the one that we see in Rogue One. Bix is gone, and K2 is here. We'll get it's a year later, so it's a whole year of Cassian and K2. We're going to get a lot of fun K2 stuff. But what's the end goal here? I guess the end goal is Rogue One, but what's the purpose of telling these last 3 episodes? This could have been the finale. Episode 8 and 9 were so good that they could have been the finale of the show. Maybe killed off Luthen and Clea and Dedra and called it a day. Dedra could have died in the Ghorman massacre too, and it could have been the finale. But they're leading to something more. They're leading to something greater with these last 3 episodes. Dead Mike says, why did Andor kill the driver? It's honestly a great point. Much like Syril, who was lowering the blaster, and then he gets shot in the head, the driver almost seems to be turning. He's listening to Mon Mothma's speech, which everybody was listening to, and it got through to a lot of people, but he was listening to it, and he was clearly rethinking his life. He was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, he wasn't saying those things, but you could see it on his face. Like, he was listening to Mon Mothma's speech, and he was like, holy crap, what have I done? Like Anakin Skywalker. So when he was going to rescue Mon or do something there on that bridge, when Mon Mothma tells Cassian that he's an ISB spy, immediately Cassian is going to kill him. But I don't think the driver was a threat at that point, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah. Now, Luthen and Clea will start the Bantha spy network. That would be pretty, actually. Here's the thing. Luthen is too important to leave out of the story. You know, I don't think he could be around during the original trilogy if that were the case. Now, having said that, there's a lot of characters in the original trilogy that we don't know about or don't see during the time of the original trilogy. Characters like Ahsoka and Hera and the Ghost crew and Cal Kestis possibly and Din Djarin and Grogu and all these characters. So I guess it's not impossible, but I feel like because Luthen's so important to the story that he should be involved if he was alive. The fact that he's not going to Yavin might be setting up the fact that he could survive this. Maybe. I don't know. Andor shot first. True. True. He learned the lesson. Always be the one who shoots first because you'll die if you're not. These have such slow pace, not a critique. I love it. Nice. So it doesn't have to be a lot in these last 3 episodes, but I think we can count on them being important. I'm just curious. Can't wait. Yeah, that's kind of what's interesting to me is I think that next week's 3 episodes could be on the same level as these last 2. I don't think they'll be 10 out of 10s per se, but I think they'll be mid to low 9s. And I think learning Luthen's backstory, which is supposed to be extremely important because he's such a fascinating character, learning his backstory might actually give us more intel on what's going to go down in these 3 episodes. And hopefully we learn about that backstory in episode 10, the first episode. Yeah. Even if Syril changed his mind, he's still ISB. Oh, sorry. Even if the driver changes his mind, he's still ISB and has to be gone. Not necessarily. He could have escaped with them and joined the rebellion. Yeah, no? I think the last scene when we see Bix and B2... Wait. I think the last scene of the show, we'll see Bix and B2 and Cassian's baby. Now that's a theory. So yeah, let's finish off episode 9 really quickly, okay? Let's talk about the Bix of it all. So Cassian escapes with Mon Mothma after this incredible speech as she calls out Palpatine, but Cassian's not the one who brings Mon Mothma back because we know that the Rebels crew does. So she has to go off with the Rebels crew because she has to make another speech. So the way they go about this, writing-wise, is that Wilmon is there, and Wilmon needs a doctor. So Cassian has to bring Wilmon back to Yavin, so he doesn't have time to bring Mon Mothma to the rebels. Or at least doesn't have time to wait for her to give another speech and then just bring her directly to Yavin 4. So they need to hand off Mon Mothma because Wilmon is in trouble. Immediate trouble. That's how they write through it. Pretty genius. Just a little detail right there that allows them to continue the story without having to retcon rebels or do anything like that. So he brings back Wilmon and brings back K2 and tells Draven, by the way, we didn't even talk about this, General Draven's back. Yeah, General Draven from Rogue One, he's back. Even a mention of Dodonna, Jan Dodonna from the original trilogy. Some pretty cool stuff when it comes to Yavin 4, and I think that will continue next week with characters like Admiral Radish showing up and whatever. But, so Draven, he tells Draven that there's a K2 or KX unit droid in the ship and that he should fix it and maybe reprogram it so they can use it for their advantage. But when he gets back to his hut in the woods, he finds Bix. And immediately you know something is wrong. Immediately. I thought for sure that Bix was going to die this week. I think this is worse. Not worse in like bad. Not worse as in this is bad writing or this is bad. Worse as in this felt so much worse. If she had just died, I feel like we would have been less emotional than this. Because when she leaves, and she leaves in the middle of the night and leaves him a message, when she leaves, she's like, oh, well, when we win, when this is over, I will find you. Oh. Ah!
I got a bad feeling about this.
No, she will not. Because guess what? Cassian Andor dies on the beaches of Scarif as the messenger for the Death Star plans. Oh, it's still heartbreaking just thinking about it. But yeah, Bix is gone. She leaves in the middle of the night. But that begs the question, is it possible that she's pregnant with Cassian's child? Like, whoever said that in the chat, I'm sorry, I forgot what it was. But is it possible that that's the case? Does she go to Mina Rao to go pick up B2 and they live happily ever after? Where does she go? What does she do? Is she still alive? Does she outlive Cassian? I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. But at the same time, Bix leaves. So Cassian loses that, and we see him go through that, and it's so emotional. At the very same time, he gets word that the K2 unit that he found, or the KX unit that he found, is being brought back to life. So as he loses Bix, he gains K2. And the 9th episode ends with K2 powering up, and we get to see that first interaction between the two best friends. So, yes, episode 8 and episode 9 are two of the single greatest episodes we have ever seen. Arguably the two best episodes of Star Wars television. Arguably the two best episodes of television, period, end of sentence. Andor is not just, somebody brought this up in the live stream, Andor is not just a good Star Wars show. It's a great show. Not Star Wars, just great show. In general, just plain and simple, great show. But is it the best Star Wars has ever been? That seems to be the question. Is it possible that this series, and not just this series, but only these two specific episodes, because it's 2 hours of content. This is an Andor movie we just watched here. Is this Andor movie, episode 7, episode 7, Andor Goes Peak. That's what it's called. Episode 7, Andor Goes Peak. Because it would be the 7th arc of the 3 episodes. Yeah, you got it. Okay. Andor 7, Andor Goes Peak. Is this the best that Star Wars has ever been? Better than the original trilogy? Better than Revenge of the Sith? Better than the Clone Wars? Better than The Mandalorian? Better than... Is it? The fact that this is even a conversation is insane. The fact that it can even be brought up in the same conversation is wild. Think about how great we are living right now as Star Wars fans. Because people have already forgotten that 5 days ago, we got Tales of the Underworld. And I'm not saying that Tales of the Underworld is just as good as these episodes, because it's not, but Tales of the Underworld is freaking fantastic. We are just living it up over here and we don't even know it. Because in 10 years from now, we're going to look back and go, yeah, Andor was peak. Andor was one of the greatest Star Wars projects to ever exist, and we didn't appreciate it enough at the time. So let's sit here and appreciate it, chat. It is just crazy. I've rewatched these episodes now 3 times, I think. Once before the breakdown video, during sort of the breakdown videos, 3 times. I might even watch them again tonight. Like, they're so good. So good. I don't know, chat. It's more cohesive than the original trilogy. Well, writing-wise, because everybody gives George Lucas so much crap for his writing. Writing-wise, it is definitely some of the best, if not the best, that Star Wars has ever been written. These characters that we met in season 1, we care so much about them. I remember watching Andor season 1 going, I don't even know who these people are. Why do I care? Syril's just eating cereal with his mom. Is that Leia or Clea? Who are these people? They're all just going to die anyway because they all died on Aldani. And now here we are. Chat. It's crazy. It blows all 9 movies away. Oh, that's some high praise. My prediction is Galen Erso makes an appearance because Mads Mikkelsen was at Star Wars Celebration. Valid. It's the best storytelling, but it's not the best project, while the original trilogy does still exist. Interesting. More mature Star Wars shows are needed. I don't know if it's the maturity of this show. Because when you look across, like, The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, those are also pretty mature shows. I mean, you got Din Djarin eviscerating Jawas with his blaster. Now, you got a lot of death, destruction, and gruesome stuff going on in those shows. I agree that Andor is probably more mature than it, but the stuff we've gotten before is not like made for 2-year-olds, you know? Bronze, what's up? Says, love your work from England. Ooh, nice. This is a stellar piece of both writing and acting. Absolutely gutted, and that it'll be ending in 3 episodes. I get that. I mean, it's always sad to see something come to an end, and Andor, of course, is in its last week here. But we feel crushed when it ends because it happened, and we loved it so much. And I'd rather have that than never have it at all, you know? Something only means that much to us because it happened. But I appreciate it. Grand Moff Tarkin would be a surprise. That would be a big surprise. Yeah, at this point it would be. I don't know how many surprises we're really going to get in episodes 10, 11, 12. I don't know. Yeah. We have to see episode 10, 11, 12 before I can make a judgment. I feel in a different way as much as The Mandalorian. Well, yes, obviously we have to see the full scope of the final 3 episodes to see Andor Season 2 versus those other projects. I'm more so saying our Season 2, Episode 8 and 9, just those 2 episodes specifically, as good or better than some of these other Star Wars projects. Because Andor Season 2 as a whole, yes, it's not finished yet. And we can't really put that up against other shows and other seasons. But we can put these 2 episodes of Star Wars content up against two other hours of Star Wars content, the other movies, per se. Yes. See, you bring up a great point. Best Disney Star Wars. But here's the thing. Star Wars is Star Wars, and Star Wars is Star Wars. It's not just the best Disney Star Wars or some of the best Disney Star Wars. It's some of the best Star Wars. You know? I feel like they should have left for a season 2 at least. Well, the reason that this season is these time jumps and whatever is because it was supposed to be 5 seasons. But the problem was it took them 2.5 years to make each season. And well, Diego Luna doesn't age backwards. Now, I will say Diego Luna, it's been 9 years since he did Rogue One. Still looks fantastic. But it's been 9 years since he did Rogue One. If they did 5 seasons, it would be like 20 years since he did Rogue One. And there's no way that a 35-year-old Diego Luna is going to look the same as a 60-year-old Diego Luna or 35-year-old Diego, you know what I meant. So that's why it had to be only 2 seasons. Yeah. Indeed. The big problem with Andor, its name, for many people, it doesn't make them want to watch the show. I have many friends who didn't watch it. And even when I tell them how great it is, they're like, but I'm just not interested. I get that. I absolutely get that. But you could argue that Star Wars, when it first released in 1977, was the same thing. Nobody knew what Star Wars was until it came out. You just don't know. So to your friends, I would say, stop being stupid. Stop don't judge a book by its cover. Ever heard that saying? Stop being dumb and watch the damn show. Is that too harsh? Maybe say, open up your big old brain and realize that something new is not bad. New is not bad, chat. New is not bad. And you can clip that and send it right to your friends. Yeah, so that's sort of the problem that most of society is having right now, is that every movie, every show, everything is a sequel, is a spin-off, is a live-action adaptation of a video game, is anything. All the Marvel movies are sequels. You look at, they're making a new Superman movie, the 1000th Superman movie. They're making another Tron movie, another Tron sequel. Dune Part 2 was the biggest movie last year, a sequel to a remake of a movie that came out 80 years ago, of a book that was made 100 years, whatever it is. The math ain't math in there. But you know what I mean. Everything now is a sequel. And people, like your friend, only go to things that have a name they know. I feel like attention span now is so lost that unless a brand or an idea is backed by already having a fan base, that's why it's so hard to do anything, really. To build a community, to build a YouTube channel, to do anything, you need fans, or you need an established fan base to grow and to be successful. Because right now, if you went online and you were trying to find out what show you're going to watch next, let's just say, and you see, for instance, Glub Shido 2 or Glub Shido 1, Revenge of Glub Shido. I don't know, whatever. That would be Glub Shido 2. Glub Shido 1, a new Glub Shido. And then you saw Game of Thrones, or Breaking Bad. So you look at the two projects and you go, I've never heard of Glub Shido, Return of the Glub Shido. And everybody tells me that Breaking Bad is good. So I'm going to watch that one. So it's sort of an idea of new things are hard to promote, are hard to be successful when something else, a sequel to something else, is easy, guaranteed money. And maybe that's why Andor is not that successful. Because, yes, Andor Season 2 numbers are low, and they're almost just as low as Andor Season 1. But it doesn't take away the fact that it's peak and incredible television. But I think we should all go watch Glub Shido, Revenge of the Glub Shido. Yeah. Indeed. Oh, Rose with the very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that quite a bit. Says, did you see the interview with Tony Gilroy where he said that he studied rebellions in history his whole life and how he brought that into Andor? So good. Yeah. I mean, it's the same story over and over again. When you look at George Lucas went to school to be a filmmaker, but he couldn't get into the filmmaking part of a certain school he wanted to, whatever. So he had to do something else. And what he did was he focused on philosophy and all these mythology of history. And that's what he loved. He loved filmmaking, but he also loved mythology. He also loved history, much like you're saying with Tony Gilroy. So you take those two things and you make Star Wars. He takes the history of the real world and the mythology of the real world and puts it into a galaxy far, far away. Stories that people can relate to, but in a completely different world with aliens and characters that we can't have any connection to because it's so far and so far away. That's pretty much what Tony Gilroy's saying too. He loved history, he loved rebels, he loved rebellions, and that's how he is able to create such a great story about a rebellion. And George Lucas pretty much just gave him the space to do so. Because when you plaster the name Star Wars on something, it does give you some bit of credibility, even if, like your friends say, that even if Star Wars is on that title, and the title still Andor, it's not welcoming to them. Even still, if Andor was just its own television show and had nothing to do with Star Wars, it would have 0 numbers. Nobody would have ever seen it, and it probably wouldn't even gotten a season 2. That's just the reality. Yeah. Indeed. Nothing beats Star Wars. Let's just get that out of the question. Oh yeah, there's no other franchise out there that is better than Star Wars. And if you think there is, good for you. But you're wrong. No, I mean, everybody has their own opinions, and that's just mine, but Star Wars is the best. Absolutely. 60-minute episodes, please, next week. Well, I mean, this week had an hour-long episode, and then a 50... Wait, what were the run times here? I know episode 9 was 1 hour. Yeah, 1 hour, 56, and 50. I mean, you look at the run times here, chat. 54 for the first episode, 47, 56, 57, 57, 58, 46, 50, in 1 hour. Run times don't really seem to be the issue. There's no complaint of run times, especially with the 3 episodes coming out every week. There's been no complaints about run times. Yeah. Yeah. History and mythology is a great place to start. Well, that's because it's something that people can relate to. It's something that happens in the real world. That's why Andor is so good, because it's something that happens in the real world. It's happening now. It happened 10 years ago. It's happening 100 years ago. It's happening 100 years in the future. You know? Yeah, no. We still got scenes with Clea in the Fondor Hullcraft smiling in the next arc. Yeah, I think next week's going to be a lot of Luthen and Clea, as I'm sure that either both or one of them will die. You know? Yeah, no. Darth Vader, what's up? Do you think they ever overlap with Rogue One? No. I think it's going to lead directly into the opening scene of Rogue One, so I don't think the two will ever overlap. The events of those, you know? I Have Friends Everywhere. That was great too, yeah. So the title of episode 5 is I Have Friends Everywhere, but in episode 9, it becomes more of an important thing, you know? Star Wars is an addiction. Okay. I watch everything. A lot of it really bums me out. Things they can't really write their way out of, but I continue coming back. Okay. Sure. Sure. Episode 8 is hands down my favorite. Okay. I don't know. Episode 9 might be my favorite. As much as I love the Ghorman massacre and it's great, the Bix ending is just so good. And of course, the middle is great too, with the whole escaping Coruscant. Yeah, yeah. Are we doing a Rogue One watch party Wednesday? You're telling me that after my 20 hours of making breakdown videos on Wednesday night, I'm going to have to watch Rogue One? I think I'll be asleep. But Thursday, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. True. Okay. But there's so much more I want to get into here, but we're already at the hour mark. So let's talk about this. So Tony Gilroy has said that they've mixed a couple of these episodes of Andor to play into theaters. So is it possible that the finale, next week's episodes, will be released in select theaters around at least the United States, maybe around the world? Possibly. But also, let's not forget the 10-year anniversary of Rogue One is next year. So it's very well possible that we could be getting Andor's finale, or at least some bits of Andor being released into theaters with Rogue One next year. Episode 1 was on ABC. Yes, so they are releasing some of these episodes on cable. That's true. Actually, just recently saw that they're releasing Skeleton Crew episodes on Disney Channel on cable. Yeah. But there have only been a few episodes in Disney Plus that have made it to the big screen. I believe episode 5 of Ahsoka, some of the premieres of like The Acolyte, Andor, The Mandalorian. But it would be pretty damn wild if they released the finale of Andor in movie theaters. You know? Skeleton Crew was also for kids and adults with kids, and it had shit ratings. That is, it's not true. Skeleton Crew was fantastic. Krennic takes over next week. I could see that. I think Dedra's going to die, and I think she'll die to Luthen. Or she'll give up on the Empire. I don't know. The fallout of what happened this week for Dedra is going to be interesting because she lost Syril, and that's really a big part of her reasoning for doing all this. And then she succeeds, I guess, in terms of the Empire's perspective on it, succeeds on Ghorman by getting the massacre done. So she might have a promotion when she gets back to Coruscant, but now she's going to feel, as we see her freak out at the end of the episode, she's going to feel pretty bad about Syril dying because she loved him. And now we don't really know where she goes because it's been a year. Do you think she dives back into the Axis stuff? We do see her in Luthen's gallery. Let me see if I can find that image again. I think I screenshotted it. I hope I screenshotted it. Hang on, Jeff. Mon Mothma. Dedra, where are you at? Dedra, you at? Okay. Okay. Where is this? I guess I didn't. I thought I saved this. No, chat. I thought I saved it. I guess I didn't. Okay, never mind. But Dedra is in Luthen's gallery at some point. So, getting to see that will be pretty cool. Dedra's action figure doll has her in ISB armor. I bet she's on a raid on Luthen's safe house. Ooh. Could be. Could be. Now Dedra's going to turn off the lights with somebody else. No, she can't get over Syril that quickly. That'd be crazy, though. Both Dedra and Kleya will die in a showdown in the gallery. That would be pretty cool. Dedra versus Kleya, and they both sort of shoot each other at the same time. That'd be crazy. That would be crazy. Yeah. No worries, Justin. I get it. How about Disney with the misdirect with Dedra being choked in the trailer? We all thought it was going to be Vader. Good one. Yeah, so I was actually going to be really upset if it wasn't Vader, maybe a month ago. I was going to be really upset if it wasn't Vader force choking her. But this was so good that it didn't even bother me. It was actually probably better than if Vader even showed up. And that's saying something. That's how good this 8th episode was. But yeah, absolutely. That was a very big, important thing. Oh my God, Jordan with a $50. What the hell? Jordan with a $50 holo. That's insane. I appreciate you, Jordan. That's holy crap. What the? Oh my God.
This is where the fun begins.
Jordan with the $50 holo says, we've had action adventure with the Skywalker saga, a war film with Rogue One, a swashbuckling pirate show with Skeleton Crew, and now a high-end drama series in Andor. The diversity of Star Wars is great, but still feels so Star Wars. Yet some people still call Star Wars dead. Ironic. Yeah, no, absolutely. You are spot on. We have so many different facets in the Star Wars world. You can do any type of storytelling and it still works. Yes, we got Skeleton Crew last year and it was very kid-centric, made for kids, pirate adventure, whatever you want to call it. We had The Acolyte last year, all lightsabers, all Jedi versus Sith, all the Force, all that stuff. And you have that. Then we get a spy thriller, action-packed drama series with Andor. It's all over the place. And yet, all of it's good for different reasons. All of it has its moments. All of its own thing. If you like certain aspects, you can watch those. And if you don't like certain aspects, you can not watch those. It's so crazy when you think about it. George Lucas created A New Hope 48 years ago. And in doing so, he didn't just create Star Wars, the Star Wars, or the original trilogy. He created a world where we can get all these types of different storytelling, all these types of different versions of the same story in a galaxy that feels cohesive and connected. Because yes, Andor's a completely different show than The Mandalorian, completely different show than Skeleton Crew, and yet they exist in the same universe. Those characters can cross over maybe at some point. Maybe not some Andor characters because they're all dead, but you get what I'm saying. It is really cool. Yeah. That was quite the super chat. I appreciate that. Very well said. Ooh, Mike brings up a great point here. Look at all the mics in the chat. My name is Mike. You can't be Mike. My name is Mike. No, I'm kidding. Dedra is going to have a change of heart in the last episode, and she's going to tell Kleya about the secret weapon. That could be likely. Let's not forget that there's a scene where Krennic is interrogating Dedra. Why would he need to do that? What would make him need to do that? And what I'm talking about here, and Jordan just said another $2 holla, says, you are the Mike, we are the Mike the galaxy is watching. That's pretty great. Yeah, we are the Gore the galaxy is watching. Pretty damn good. Okay, but shit, what was I just saying? Oh, yeah, sorry. This trailer right here, as we were just looking at, has this scene. Oh, right here.
Resistance.
Of Krennic interrogating Dedra in the ISB. As he says, resistance is absurd.
Resistance is absurd.
So,
Resistance.
I mean, what's going on here, Chad? What's going on here, Chad? Oh my God, we are an hour and almost 20 minutes into this live stream, and I've yet to take a sip of water. That's got to be a record. That's how good this show is. I can't even stop to take a sip of water. What do we think's going on here, chat? Krennic interrogating Dedra. She must have done something wrong. I mean, he's talking about resistance being absurd. I don't think he's talking about Dedra resisting. I don't know. Only time will tell. He's interrogating Dedra or Luthen? Dedra. Did I say Luthen? I meant Dedra. That's not water. I can guarantee you it's water. I would dump it on my head, but that's not what I want to be doing right now. I can't tip it more or it will fall out of the cup, but you can see that. See? It's water. She's after Axis. Could be. Could be. They don't know what the weapon is. In Rogue One, Cassian learns it's some sort of planet killer. Yeah. The only thing that Kleya says here
Is absurd.
It's a weapon.
is that it's a weapon. They're building a weapon.
They're building a weapon.
So she doesn't know what it is. Cassian doesn't know what it is. But they know that they're building something that's of significance. And that it's a weapon. Yeah. Is that Dedra's shadow in the glass? Yes. So this is Dedra being interrogated.
We will be crushed.
Resistance.
You can see it right there. It's Dedra. Yeah. So it is Dedra in the glass. But what is going on? Like, why is she being interrogated? It's going to be a lot. Like, people think the show is almost over now because these episodes were so good and we got all the stuff on Ghorman. Nope. Now we got to set up Rogue One. We got more Krennic. We got more all this stuff. there's a lot more to go down with 3 more episodes remaining. The Phantom Mike, Attack of the Mikes, Revenge of the Mikes, A New Mike, The Mike Strikes Back, Return of the Mike. You forgot 3 of them. The Mike Awakens, The Last Mike, The Rise of Mike. Okay. Tarkin, please. I'd like some Tarkin, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like this show's going that way. We had plenty of chances to see Palpatine. We've had plenty of mentions of Palpatine, but no scenes with Palpatine. Not quite. No. All right, I do want to watch some of this declassified stuff. It's about 10 minutes long, and we probably won't watch the whole thing, but it's pretty cool. So every single week, maybe you guys have noticed this, maybe you haven't, but every single week, they've posted these on YouTube. So it's called Andor Season 2 Declassified, episodes 7 through 9. And it's 10 minutes of just like Tony Gilroy and the cast and crew, like sort of giving insights and background stuff behind the scenes of the 3 episodes that we just watched. Sometimes it gives out some pretty cool information. In this one in particular, it really does. Because Tony Gilroy describes how he's working all this stuff, and it's really, really cool. So we'll watch some of it. We'll watch some of it.
Because we know where we're going to end with this coalition of revolutionaries in Rogue One, there's 1 or 2 canonical moments, the massacre at Ghorman and Mon Mothma's leaving the Senate, making her speech. You know, those are on the calendar. Those are things we have to deal with.
So pretty much what he's saying is, with Andor Season 2, they're giving so much freedom to do whatever they want, but there's a few things, like what happens in Star Wars Rebels, that needs to happen. The Ghorman Massacre being one of them, but yes, there's a few. Saw Gerrera is another, and it's very strange to me that Saw was not in these 3 episodes. He wasn't missed, per se, because these episodes were so good, but it's weird that he wasn't in them.
All those connections with all the stories we've heard before. This is the season that delivers that.
Look at some of the scopes of these scenes. Right now they're about to describe the plaza of Ghorman, but just look at how massive some of these practical sets are. Because usually with Star Wars, they use a lot of green screens and blue screens and in the volume now. But with Andor, they spent $300 million, and you feel all of that in the show.
In these 3 episodes, you really feel the genuine weight of rebellion.
Sorry to keep you waiting. The Emperor has taken a great interest in the situation.
There were mass curfew violations last night and rumors of a general strike this morning.
We are moving forward with the original plan.
In the main plaza, there's so many stories happening at the same time. It's not just like suddenly there's chaos. It's slowly cooking.
The build-up is insane. Through 7 episodes, we build up to this massive massacre that finally goes down in this episode. It is pretty wild.
There is a plan, always.
We are the Gorn! The galaxy is watching!
Jan Mile.
It's really ironic because the galaxy was not watching. They're like, we are the Gorn, the galaxy is watching. No. Actually, the galaxy is pretty much the opposite. The galaxy's doing its own thing. It's actually pretty much hating on you all the time.
Else was our editor on that episode, and that was a very complicated thing. There's a lot of moving pieces. Things like this, you know, you're putting them together as quickly as they're being shot. You're sort of tacking these together and seeing what you need. It's components, and you're putting those components together, building and finally, you know, they just take shape.
We are the Gorn!
We thought of the massacre as its own sound, musical sound. This idea of these bending, distorted basses and cellos. Tony coined the term doom bends. We want to create this simmering, this long, slow burn. And so we started with just one of these doom bends. Then there'd be space and maybe a hit, and then there'd be another one.
In Ghorman. We don't talk about it because the acting and the writing and obviously all that stuff is great in this series. But the set designs and the composition, the musical composition of this season, in particular, of course, the Ghorman Massacre, but it's underrated, to say the least. Because usually with Star Wars, the music is so important. John Williams, iconic soundtracks throughout the entire thing. The Mandalorian, even with Ludwig, has great soundtrack, iconic. But when it comes to Andor, it's almost a different feel. It still feels like Star Wars, but a different feel. Diego Luna has an accent. Yes, obviously, he has the accent in the show. But yeah, it's a different feel, but it still feels like Star Wars.
Ghorman, we used the camera droids. We'd seen these before, never as a practical effect. We'd seen them as a digital effect in the prequels.
I will take what Jedi we have left and go to Geonosis and help Obi-Wan.
So it was really great to bring those to life.
So these droids, these camera droids, were from Attack of the Clones. Didn't even notice that. Didn't even notice. Hey, Dedra. Oh, Dedra's in the chat. Dedra, why are you being interrogated by Tarkin?
For the entire city, local leaders are urging calm.
A peaceful demonstration. Local insurgents spread rumors through the night and have organized this.
That scene right there is almost when he breaks. That's his breaking point, when he overhears, like he's seeing this massacre happen, or he's seeing he's seeing this rally, I guess, happen, this protest, if you will, and then he's looking over to the broadcaster or the newsman, and he's telling them how it's going, and he's talking about pretty much that the Empire's in the right and these rebels are in the wrong. And he clearly knows that that's not true. He's looking at it right now with his own two eyes, and it's not true. And this is right before he goes in to meet Dedra. This is right before he force chokes. He chokes Dedra and leaves Dedra. So this is really his breaking point right here. Because yes, there's a lot that leads up to it, but this is sort of it. This is what turns him and makes him force choke Dedra, and leave Dedra. That much. Yeah.
This highly volatile insurrection you see behind me now.
How Syril goes down, that was really
So they're about to talk about Syril's death and everything, but weirdly enough, in this declassified stuff, they don't really go into episode 7 from what I remember. They just sort of skip it. Because so much goes down in episode 8 and 9. Like they skip the Force Healer, they skip the messenger part of Cassian and how his future is pretty much told to him by this Force user. Pretty weird.
fun to build and really fun to write and very difficult to watch because it's really freaking wild and painful.
That's true.
What have you done? Everything he ever thought he believed in, trusted in, is shaken to its core. How he moves on from there is really the truest expression of Syril. Everything that he has just experienced with Dedra and Rylance and the whole season 2 is just coming out in this, like, God, like, this guy, I can't believe, like, at this moment, you're finally showing up.
It is pretty ironic, if you will, because Syril, he's not looking for Cassian in this moment. He's actually, for the first time, not looking for Cassian in a long time. And that's when he shows up. When he least expects him, when he stops finally looking for him, that's when he shows up. You know? It's very, very strange. And even more to that point, they talk about Caro Rylance being the one who shoots him. He works with Caro for episodes 4, 5, and 6 on Ghorman. Creates a relationship with that character. But because of the way that Caro sees the Empire, he's eventually the one who shoots him in the head, which is crazy. Now, this is where they talk about the choreography for this fight and all this stuff, so just listen to this. It's really, really good.
The moment of Syril and Cassian meeting, we've been waiting for that moment to happen, and it has to be worth it.
Action.
We worked on that choreography for quite a long time.
And if it gives a little bit more on this impact in your body, it just gives a little bit more.
That moment, it means so much to him.
When you grab me, just put me there.
Put you there.
And you have Cassian surviving and going like, wow, get away from me, who are you? You know, that kind of thing. And Syril just keeps coming back.
One of the great things I actually have always loved about him is he follows through where no one else will. And he just follows through to the end.
I mean, that scene, it's not talked about enough how good it is. Like when you go back and watch the choreography in the fight scene, it's just incredible. And then, of course, it all comes down to him dying.
And seeing these people, I mean, that's the only thing they can do is sing their national anthem. It's the emotional lever. In the middle of that riot, Tony and Nick Patel wrote that.
Singing the Ghorman national anthem is pretty cool, but let me skip ahead here. Yeah, here comes the K2 units.
He's there every day with us, shooting, spending the time, reacting to the little stuff.
Thank you. Well done, everybody. We're doing 6 KX units that are brought to Ghorman by the Imperials.
The first big introduction to the KX is coming out. There's an all-in-one shot. We had a thrown through the air from the start position, hit the floor, and slide without ever cutting away.
And there is something that needs to happen, right? Cassian needs to find his friend. And the way it happens is quite special.
People have had to be very patient, but the promise always was, well, when we bring it, we're going to bring it.
So the reveal of how they meet, it's been something that people have been waiting for years. And it's sort of lost in the sauce, if you will, because how they meet is during the most tragic and horrible time at this point in the galaxy. People are dying left and right in this Ghorman massacre, probably the most gruesome thing that Cassian's ever gone through. And it's in that same moment that he finds his best friend that we see in Rogue One. It's perfect. Perfect.
Have you seen the numbers? The Ghorman dead? It's beyond belief. We need to speak out. We need to stand up and speak the truth.
So we're currently in Spain. This is called the CAC. It's like a cultural arts and sciences center designed by Calatrava. Calatrava's architecture offers something that we can not only build on in terms of our stage sets.
So if that already exists in Spain, I think we should just, make all of Coruscant on Earth. What do we think, Chet? Just like levels and levels and levels of different sort of underworlds, and then at the top is like the Senate building, and maybe even a Jedi Order, and what do we think? Yes, is that a resounding yes?
But also kind of embrace as an upper Coruscant look. Well, this stretch that I'm in now is at one end of what we're calling a Senate Plaza, with the Senate building at one end and the Senate offices at the other. And so it really helps us kind of stitch together the geography of the exterior Senate.
We are in crisis. The distance between what is said...
Shut it down.
...and what is known to be true has become an abyss.
With that speech, we get to the mom that I'm deeply interested in, which is the emergence of a leader.
The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil.
And it's intercut with
So
Cassian trying to find her, and there's other stuff going on.
You need the sequence key.
So let's have it.
We took it up to the security office yesterday.
Because it's...
So these two, I'm guessing, are working for Luthen too, right? Like the two that purposefully lock the door and then share this glance of like, haha, we did it. So Luthen clearly has got a bunch of people around Coruscant that are doing his work for him, and a lot more than we think, right? This is a lot of people working for Luthen. If he's got rebels on the inside of the Senate building, then he's got some people everywhere.
Andor, there's many levels to one scene. Tony said to me, would you like me to write the whole speech? And I said, yes, please. I would love you to write the whole speech. And I will just learn the whole speech. And then you can cut and use whatever you want. But I want to give that speech. And he did.
Yeah, what she's pretty much saying there, because should I write the whole speech? Obviously. No, it's not that obvious, because there's only pieces of the speech that he would need to write. Only the big punchlines, really. And those are the only ones that they'd have to show, because you can cut back between them and Cassie and all this other stuff. So technically you don't need the full speech, but you feel it in the episode.
To stand and...
Oh yeah, Chad, by the way, it's not real. I mean, there's green screen behind her, and of course the Senate building doesn't truly exist, sadly, but maybe someday. Maybe someday.
give the whole speech. That is something that I will remember forever. It meant something to me for all these years, having the wonderful opportunity to play her.
The monster who will come for us all soon enough is Emperor Palpatine.
Boom! Emperor Palpatine.
Senator. It was really nice. I've been working with Genevieve in this show for so long without having the opportunity to actually interact.
It is interesting because these two characters are arguably the two main-ish characters of the show. Cassian, of course, is what the show's named after, but Mon Mothma is just as important of a main character throughout the entirety of the first two seasons. So these two characters, they don't know much about each other. They're never on the same screen together until this moment here, but they know each other. And they, at least in Rogue One, they know each other. So how they come to know each other, this is what we learn. And these two characters, although they're main characters in the same show, they don't meet until season 2, episode 9, until the last 4 episodes of the series. So it is pretty wild when you think about it that way.
And as an actor, it's amazing to reconnect these two characters.
At the beginning of Rogue One.
Actually, yeah, you bring up a great point. Booba, like Boba Fett, that's hilarious. Booba brings up a great point. So Senator Organa would have connections with the building. So maybe it's not Luthen. Maybe it is Bail Organa who's the one who has those people.
Where Mon Mothma introduces Cassian to Jyn. She just says, "This is Captain Cassian Andor from Rebel Intelligence." I just go, wow. Imagine now doing that. What it would be. I love the sinew that we've created that will reach out over the past to link up.
It's pretty crazy because they've talked about before when promoting this show so much that this show will change the way you watch Rogue One. And it's in subtle ways like that where, like, yes, Mon Mothma and Cassian now have a backstory. So, like, you have that when she introduces Captain Cassian Andor, you know that now, and you know, because you've seen it, that Cassian's the one who helped save her from Coruscant and brings her to Yavin and all that stuff. So that already has more meaning to it. It's subtle ways. There's bigger ways, but there's subtle ways as well, just like that. And it makes you look at Rogue One completely differently. Wild.
Stand down, everyone! I'm not sure I can do this.
Welcome to the rebellion.
Boris! What are you doing?
And with Cassian's journey, now it's the move to being a leader, even moving beyond a leader then to becoming a hero.
You. All that you've been gathering.
Oh.
The strength of spirit. Surely you must feel it.
And then Bix and her sacrifice.
We have to win. We have to beat them.
And cut. Very good. Almost good. Thank you.
How are they not crying right now, chat? How are they not bawling their eyes out on set? Bix is gone. She's not dead, but she's gone.
Lovely.
She knows that if she stays, we're gonna be in this loop of destruction forever.
I'm choosing the rebellion.
He has to understand that in any revolution, it's about succeeding, you know? It's not about you anymore. You have to be willing to bring that sacrifice.
They're getting ready to power up the droid you brought in.
And he does no sacrifice. He makes the greatest sacrifice ever in the end. And it's all because of Bix. Like, again, you go back and rewatch Rogue One now, and you realize that the sacrifice he's making at the end, it's because of Bix. It's because of what she sacrifices at the end of this 9th episode. Ugh.
The KX unit?
When we leave Block 3, when you're laying it out and you're looking, it actually can line up. When Bix leaves him, K2 can be arriving. And so it's really going to mean something.
97 Echo, take 3. Aim beam up.
3, 2, 1.
K2SO. I love being that character again.
Working with Alan was fabulous. It's going to be quite a thing for those who love Rogue One.
That's sort of a tease till next week because
K2SO. I love being that character again.
Working.
Oh, hang on. This. I think that's Melshi behind them. So we're going to get a lot of Cassian and K2 and missions they go on and whatever. I really don't know what the plot of this next week's going to be, but it's going to be pretty damn cool because you got Melshi and you got a lot of K2, and now it's leading directly into Rogue One with Krennic and Luthen and possibly dying, and it's going to be chaos. It's going to be chaos for sure. But yeah, these classified things are awesome. And I just said we would only watch snippets of it. We watched the entire thing.
It's fabulous. It's going to be quite a thing for those who love Rogue One.
Yeah. It's going to be quite a thing for those who love Rogue One. So good. But yeah, there you have it. That's sort of the behind the scenes look at this week. It's really cool when you look at how they do it with the practical effects and stuff and incorporating that into Coruscant. But I don't know, Chad. The more and more you see, the more and more you watch, the more and more you love it, and the more it becomes one of the greatest things in Star Wars. I'm not at the point now, going back to the title of this stream, that I could say that it is the best Star Wars ever. Maybe I will at some point. I don't know. But it is that good. And the fact that we were sitting on 2 episodes that we watched this good, it's still amazing. Like it's proof and proof again that Star Wars is definitely not dead, as some people would tell you. And the fact that peak Star Wars just continues to come out year after year in this Disney era, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Will K2 meet B2? Okay, I don't think so, but you bring up a great point, actually. K2 is not B2, because there was that theory of B2's memory or whatever being transferred into K2. That doesn't happen, which was a theory that many people liked. I kind of liked the theory at first, but then it kind of went away. But yeah, that definitely didn't happen. And the whole Nemik's manifesto thing, that wasn't a thing either. I like that, where they could have programmed this K2 unit to have Nemik's manifesto in it, because Nemik's all about, he writes this manifesto, he gifts that manifesto to Cassian, and maybe he puts that, because it's sort of the, I guess, formula for rebellion, into K2. That'd be kind of cool, but I guess not. Yeah. Diego's crushing it. Oh, absolutely. Diego Luna. It's very interesting, because you've got to think about it this way. Cassian Andor, as a character, and although he may not be your favorite character in this show or whatever, as a character, Cassian Andor has more screen time now because of Andor Season 1, Andor Season 2, and Rogue One, probably than the majority of Star Wars characters. I mean, you got to put, I guess, you got to put animation into the equation, and I guess that changes things. But in terms of live action screen time, he's probably towards the top there, because it's so long. The episodes are so long. There's so much other stuff. Like, I don't know. But he's become an iconic. He's a legacy character now. It's been 10 years. He's an iconic character. It's crazy. It really is. I always thought I always thought what Cassian was carrying around on his jacket in Rogue One was the manifesto. What? Hang on. Cassian Andor Rogue One. What Cassian was carrying around? Oh, wait, what? Hang on, Jen. Might be onto something here. You might be onto something here. Hang on. Now let's look up Nemik's manifesto. I think you're right. So what we're saying here, this right here, that's on Cassian in Rogue One. You can see it right there too. This is the manifesto. Huh. That's crazy. I like that actually quite a bit. I like that quite a bit. That's a great catch. That's a great catch. Yeah. For sure. 50 Thunder, what's up? How we doing? That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. I like it a lot. But yes, it can't be denied when we look at this, how incredible these last two episodes are. The IMDb says it right here, 9.9, 9.8. It's a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, this is peak. There's no other word but peak. This is it. And I really wonder how the next 3 episodes will continue this. Like, what are we really going to get from the next 3 episodes, you know? How much more can we really get that can even come close to topping it, really? Now, I will say, going back to Diego Luna and Cassian Andor himself and talking about this, I want to bring this up. A lot of issues that people have with certain characters, certain projects. For example, when you look at this.
I have 2 messages. Yes. One.
Actually, let me pause it real quick. When you look at this, you look at the perfect guy for the media. What I'm saying here is you're looking at the guy who you want to be talking about your show.
I have 2 messages.
Listen to how he speaks to the fans. And this is the same thing we see across all of his interviews at Star Wars Celebration. This one was in London, I believe. But he is the perfect guy to have backing your show, to be the lead of your show, and to be the spokesperson for this piece of Star Wars content. Because listen to this. This is his message to the fans.
Yes. One for fans and one for them. But you have to witness both. First of all, there's nothing like working for something that says Star Wars, you know? I don't think I'll ever go back to something close to this. People talked a lot about at the beginning of the weight, the pressure. I would say just one thing. I mean, when we tell stories, when we decide to give life to a character and meaning to the words that you see, you know, written and you put together something like this, you're hoping someone cares. And being in this show, having worked for your care, for your love for Star Wars, knowing you're there, waiting for us to deliver, it's the big difference, you know? There's nothing like this. Thank you for the love you have for what we do, because I'm fortunate, you know, and I think we're all fortunate of working and telling a story you care about, and I hope we deliver. I hope you're proud and happy with this second season and with Andor in general, because we put our hearts and our passion behind it. But it's because of you, so thank you so much.
Maybe other actors feel this way. I'm sure they do. But the fact of the matter is, as a fan, as many of you probably feel the same way, just hearing this from an actor, from anybody, it feels good. It's him saying every day on set, we were thinking about you guys. We were trying to make something so great that you guys would love. And that should be the message anyway. That's what we should feel anyway. But him just saying that, right now, I'm sure many of you are thinking, yeah, I love Diego Luna. Diego Luna's the GOAT. He's fan-freaking-tastic. But it's all just things that he says. Everybody loves it because that's what he's thinking, and that's what he should be saying. Now, I'm not saying everything you think you should say, because that's a horrible idea. But if actors and actresses said things more like this, then we would be on the same page, and it would be a happy community, especially in terms of Star Wars fans. Because anytime that an actor opens their mouths, Star Wars fans are either going to love it or absolutely shit on it. There's pretty much no in between. So when you look at Diego Luna saying these things, saying how much everything is built for the fans, we love the fans, 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 the fans. As a fan, I feel great. I'm like, I love this guy. Yes, Diego Luna for the win. But that's not that hard to do. It's the same thing I was talking about a couple weeks back when we were talking about Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. The The reason we love John and Dave so much is whenever they're asked a question, the first thing they always say is, we always thought about George. We tried to dig this from George to George. Because as a fan, you hear George Lucas and you go, yes. You go, that's the Star Wars I know and love. So when you bring up George, when you talk about the fans, when you do all this stuff, it's the right thing to say. And it makes you love them. And that's why we love Diego Luna. That's why we love Jon Favreau. That's why we love Dave Filoni. Because they're saying all the right things. They mean them, obviously, but they're saying the right things. And that's just another reason to love Cassian, another reason to love Andor, another reason to love all that stuff. It's fan-freaking-tastic. Yeah. But that's what I want to show you guys. And then one more thing that's completely unrelated to...
you had mentioned...
Oops. That is unrelated to Andor at all, but I saw it today, and I thought it would be pretty cool to show you guys. So check this out. This is Katie Sackhoff, Bo-Katan, up top, and she's asked about being in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and let's just say she pretty much confirms it. Pretty much confirms it. Oh, hang on. Before we get to this, Donald says with a very generous $5 holla, says, thanks, Mike. Look forward to the live watching of the final episodes next week. I appreciate that, Donald. I really, really do. I really, really do. Okay, well, let's watch this. Listen to Katie Sackhoff. Listen to the answer to this question.
Earlier this year that you've not worn the armor in 2025. I did notice that The Mandalorian and Grogu wrapped production in December of 2024.
Did they?
Sure did.
Wow.
That's all we're gonna get on that front. Can I ask, at this present moment, do you know when we will see Bo-Katan again? Are you privy to the direction of that character?
You will see her again in some form. Dave Filoni cannot get rid of me because Bo-Katan's based off of his wife. So, you know, I've got some job security.
You had mentioned...
True, she does. And that all that is true. But it's just pretty funny because she did mention, and we talked about this before, but at the beginning of this season, beginning of this year, or earlier on in this year, she did say that she hasn't worn the Bo-Katan suit since in 2025. And even at the time, we said, yes, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie stopped filming before 2025. So it's just funny that the question was asked, and obviously her response was silence, but the silence with the face of, she's definitely going to be in it. So Bo-Katan in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie.
With this coalition
Whoa. That's not a big surprise, but it's still pretty cool confirmation nonetheless. A confirmation without a confirmation, I guess. We'll put it that way. Yeah. Indeed. Jedi Master Y says, I missed one before, says, Mike, try to unburden yourself with the best ever qualifier for now. You can always do a deep dive analysis later on. Let us all, as true Star Wars fans, just enjoy the amazing Star Wars content. It's true. I mean, the conversation of best ever doesn't need to be had at all times, but the fact that the conversation can be had within itself is very, very cool. The fact that these two episodes this week have the possibility of being in the conversation of greatest Star Wars ever is just more evidence to the fact that Star Wars is definitely not dead. And it's very much alive. But yes, true. But he also says, Mike, not all Star Wars fans are the same. That should be acknowledged. Very true. Actors can be speaking honestly when... What? Oh, okay, sure. But I agree with you. Definitely not all Star Wars fans are the same. We talked about this already, but every Star Wars project is geared towards different versions of Star Wars fans. And that's why every Star Wars fan has a very different appreciation for each project. The same way that a lot of people aren't even watching Andor because they don't like it. In the same way that people don't like the animated stuff or like the certain other projects. Everybody has their own personal opinion. I always refer it back to food because some people like crazy food, like myself. Wait, what just happened? Chad, are we still live? What just happened? Are we still live, chat? 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 Oh, we're still good. Okay. What the hell just happened? My screen just went black over there, and then it said, "Oh snap, this thing broke." I was like, "No, it's not broke. We're still good." I was going on my tangent about food and how it's related to Star Wars, And then it just broke on me. All right, we're back. We're back. Somebody's out to kill the chat. Somebody's out to kill chat. No. But you look at food. Some people really love olives. Some people hate olives. Pineapple on pizza. That's a big one. I love pineapple on pizza, and I know I'm going to get hate for that. But hey, I said it. I said it, chat. And yeah, so people have very different opinions on foods. Same way people have very different opinions on Star Wars. When you have billions of fans, you're going to have a lot of different opinions. That's for damn sure. Mike's always thinking with his stomach. I'm hungry as hell right now, 50 Thunder. Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. Okay. But where was I? Oh, it's the chat massacre. Thanks, Jordan. I appreciate that. Yes, the chat has been massacred. I don't know what happened, really. It's just literally broke and said, "Aw, snap. It's broken." I was like, "Oh, thanks. Thanks for that. Giving me a heart attack like the chat just ended." Okay. But with that being said, we do have to get on out of here. I mean, we talked exclusively only about these 3 episodes, not even really predicting what's to come next. We'll do that on Saturday's live stream as per usual, and Monday's live stream, which is a prediction live stream as well. This was quite the week for Star Wars content, if I do say so myself. Starting the week off with May the 4th, giving us the Fortnite season with the which we will be streaming more of that, I promise, on the Eggs channel, so go check that out. But the Fortnite stuff on May the 4th. You also had Tales of the Underworld on May the 4th. Then you get 3 of the best episodes of Andor, 2 of the best episodes of all time ever, and arguably the best Star Wars ever. Insane. Absolutely insane. But honestly, I think next week could be just as good, or at least in the same sort of realm. But until then, watch out for a short tonight, tomorrow, etc. Watch out. Actually, tonight I'm going to put up a poll in the community tab saying something along the lines of, is this the best Star Wars? Just throwing it out there, just for funsies. Watch out for a short tomorrow. Watch out for a live stream Saturday, of course, as per usual. And of course, 3 more episodes of Andor on Tuesday. The last 3, actually. So that'll be pretty damn fun. Smash a freaking like on this stream if you have not already. How many likes do we have, chat? How many likes do we have? 70? What's going on, chat? At 100 plus people here this whole time. 70 likes? What, do we not like the stream? What, are we not having a fun time over here, chat? What are the people who love Star Wars? Yeah, I said it. I said it. Smash a freaking like on the stream if you have not already. Huge shout out to Jordan Rennie for the very generous super chats. Donald, Darth Plagueis Lives, Rose. Who did I miss? And Ron for the very generous super chats. Super chats memberships keep the lights on over here, so I appreciate it. And yeah, huge shout out to Brent for winning the giveaway the other day. That is on its way. We sent that out already, so I appreciate it. Yeah. Pretty crazy. Oh, a little bit of behind the scenes type stuff. Chat, my birthday is this month. Yeah, that's true. It is May 30th, so it's the very end of the month, but it is this month. I just looked at the calendar. We are now 22 days away. Pretty cool. I'm getting old as hell, but what are you going to do? Okay, smash freaking like on the stream if you have not already. Hit that subscribe and hit that bell to get notified. And may the force be with you. Always. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you will ever know. This was quite a fun. Oh, I didn't end the poll. Hang on, chat. Let's end this poll. Let's end the poll. Samantha's hosting the live on my birthday. Yeah, I don't work on my birthday. Come on. No. What did you think of episode 789? 91% of you loved it. Wow. 4% of you liked it. That's 45%, 95%, sorry, right there and then and there. 2% hated it. Wow. Oh my God, 200 votes on this poll. That's crazy. That's a lot of votes. But with that, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night, everybody.